Hello, adventurers!
Hi,
Lovely
everyone.
to see everyone today. Hi, Brett. So good to see your
Hi.
smiley, happy face. All
Good to hang
right.
out with you.
Yeah. So, first things first, what is our adventure today? Who are we? We are Who are the firm? Waiting
Mm.
on the jetty near the second beach. Those are the only instructions that the firm sent to you. An exclusive invitation to become an agent for the mysterious organization. Your first mission, rendezvous with your handler at Grange Jetty in Adelaide. But who are the firm? And what are they really after? You now find yourself at the center of a high stakes game that will decide the fate of the planet. Search for hidden treasure, face down dangerous enemies, and if you can, avoid becoming the victim of foul play. Only you can unravel the firm's true motivations. But will you expose the mystery or become just another pawn in the grand conspiracy taking place on the streets of Grange?
Ooh,
Dun, dun,
interesting. Dun, dun, dun.
dun. So, this particular story was made by the absolutely wonderful, charming, and delightful Michael Scott Hand. Michael is a very, very, very deep introvert. So, he is not necessarily excited by the prospect of streaming to a live audience. So, we have said to him, that is okay. We can still adventure based on this wonderful tale you have made us. But I thought that what I would do a little bit, seeing as Michael wasn't here to introduce himself, that I would give you a little bit about Michael from his website. Now, this about section will give you an idea of the type of prose to expect. So, on his website here in the About section, um, it is written as though someone else is talking about Michael, a person called Cathras Hawthorne, Review of Unknown Artist, 1866. And this is what they say about Michael. With humility, Michael broaches the questions at the very core of human existence, and each work stands as a testament to his limitless imagination. It is brilliant to a word, unsurprising from one such as he, a creative and determined genius inclined to, yet not defined by, melancholy and madness. Delving into the depths of his mind, Michael seeks to unite separate themes and ideas with remarkable wit, clarity, and skill. Truly, he is il homine fantastique. If you are fortunate enough to be reading this, I urge you to linger here a little while longer and explore the vast range of works available. Each moment you spend upon this site will surely leave an indelible mark upon your soul. As such, I declare with the utmost enthusiasm that Michael Scott Hand is a true visionary, a master of the imagination who excels in every endeavour he sets his mind to. Michael exists in a realm apart from ours, a place of boundless terror and beauty. So I very much enjoy when people spoof their own bios. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you, Michael. That gives people a little bit of a taste of like the type of adventure that we can expect: grand, sweeping, irreverent, a little bit silly. Um, so I'm excited to kind of delve into this week. But also, I wanted to introduce everybody to the artist for this particular piece as well, because you'll be seeing a bunch of her artwork. It's Amanda Nung. So she is an illustrator. She's a visual artist in South Australia. She enjoys working on her own as well as doing collaborations. She is open for commissions. Anyone who enjoys her work this week. So she's inspired by movement and mood. So she has a passion for portraiture. She does a lot of creative typography. She does storyboarding, character design, and she, as you'll see in this piece, she does beautiful, beautiful watercolor and ink paintings. And so they're very kind of expressive. to convey kind of the emotions in the story. So this is just really beautiful work from Amanda, who has her own little human now, and unfortunately couldn't be with us because she has to be mum. And thank you very much, Amanda, for contributing this gorgeous artwork to this wonderful Choose Your Own Adventure. So today we are going to be exploring a seaside area of the Australian city of Adelaide called Grange. It is technically a different city. It's known as the City of Charles Sturt. And it's this lovely kind of seaside area of the city, where the sun sets over the ocean. Very, very lovely area. But first, I just wanted to say hello to everyone, and maybe I thought, Brett, we could catch up. How has your week been? What has been like your top, whether it's a game, a piece of content, what has been your top thing that you have consumed this week?
Well, I think the artistic thing of this last week was something I was part of. Um, I was singing with a classical choir from Edmonton called Procoro, singing Rachmaninoff's Vespers, or also known as the All Night Vigil, which is really one of the great choral works. Rachmaninoff has written some amazing stuff, and the whole piece is about, I think, 65 or 70 minutes, broken up into its little parts. But basically, we walked on stage and sang the whole thing over 70 minutes and walked off stage. It's quite, it's a bit of a singing marathon, but the experience is really cool. And I've sung that work a few times, and it's always like really, really fun to do. I like it a lot.
Do you feel like your lungs have expanded, that you can run a marathon now?
Absolutely. The other part of it is that I feel like my left shoulder has been strengthened because you're holding up all the music for the entire work for about
Wow.
70 minutes at a time, and you get some shoulder strength out of that, some endurance.
That sounds like, like maybe like a phone would be easier, but no.
I use I do actually use a digital device. I use a tablet,
Yeah,
but tablets themselves are usually pretty heavy too. So
that's
the
true.
tablet plus the folder that you hold everything in, and I mean, really just your arm. Holding up your arm for 70 minutes straight is a thing in itself, really.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Having to hold a tiny little human every day, and just
Mm-hmm.
even just like when you're trying to hold something to your body, it's like exhausting. So like just be like this.
Yeah,
You must have guns of steel. There you go.
yeah, exactly.
Handy, bring in all the ladies. I think that for me, the favorite thing that I have been consuming at the moment is that I've been watching The Orville.
Oh,
Um,
great.
yeah, so for those of you who don't know, The Orville is essentially kind of it started off, was meant to be kind of like a spoof of Star Trek, and so um, it, it has this wonderful nostalgia because it gets all of like the sounds right for like the doors opening in the spaceship, and the sound of them going into like quantum space, and like all of this kind of things that like, and then the big sweeping like orchestral scores, and it just gives you the like the real nostalgic feels for like old school Star Trek. But then, they'll have absolutely ridiculous scenes where, like, one of the crew members finds out that one of their alien commanders has, like, an iron stomach and can literally eat anything. And so they, like, will offer him, like, a napkin, and they get him to eat a cactus. And, like, so, like, it's meant to be irreverent, it's meant to be funny. They're like the main captain and the first officer used to be married, but now they're divorced because one cheated on the other. And so, like, that causes like very funny conflicts. And so, like, if you haven't seen it, it's on Disney Plus, at least in North America. And The Orville is just. It's delightfully funny and nostalgic, and I highly recommend it. It does this, but it isn't all silly, right? It does this great balance of quite serious, like this is like serious kind of Star Trekky kind of vibes, but then it explores um, things that I would consider more contemporary to our time, as it were. So,
Well, Seth MacFarlane is kind of a big sci-fi nerd.
mm-hmm,
I think it's his project over as a whole,
mm.
and he's done lots of cool things in different sci-fi and science and futurology tech. One of my favorite works. I don't like it's I don't know what the best word. I'm just gonna say works. One of my favorite scientific works is just the Cosmos series by Carl Sagan. Um, and I think Seth funded. Uh,
Oh, sorry, Brett, we've lost your audio there.
oh, hello.
Oh, yep, there we go. Perfect. Sorry. You
Oh,
got as far as he funded.
yeah, he funded a new version of Cosmos and redid that. I think with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and it's just a really cool show. Cosmos kind of explores the nature of the universe and the nature of scientific discovery throughout the ages. And so the modernized version, it's really gets to update a bit on what we've done since then, and I don't know. I think it's very cool. Star Trek lovers and sci-fi lovers and future tech lovers, that kind of all goes hand in hand. So Cosmos is a really cool thing that Seth did alongside making the Orville.
Nice. I love that a lot. Well, now everyone, it is adventure time. Let's jump into this delightful piece by Michael Scott Hand. So, as we said, we are currently here in the lovely seaside area of Adelaide in the Grange area. And this here is the jetty that comes out. So Adelaide has just a ton of beaches all up and down the western side, and a lot of these beaches will have jetties. Now, the reason why I really used to kind of like the Grange area is because there's a really cool cafe kind of up this
Mm,
area, and a little bit further on from Grange is Henley Beach, where you are allowed to drink on the beach, and by drink I mean alcohol. So
nice.
I would go on my birthday to the beach with friends and a portable barbecue, and we would drink it up and have fun on the beach. During Australian summer, which can get incredibly hot in Adelaide. If you hit
Hmm.
a heat wave week, it can get to above 40 degrees Celsius,
Wow,
with not going below 30 degrees at night time. So bit of fun, bit of fun.
that's pretty
Uh,
intense.
it is very intense. So, for those of you who might be listening on our podcast form, we are on a lovely wooden jetty. A lot of people will fish off this jetty, generally for like squid and those kind of things. But this particular photograph was taken at twilight, so um, there's a surf club and a pub and all of that kind of like lining the beach there. And just a very quaint, lovely, quaint little seaside town. And this is where we meet our handler. Hmm.
Hmm.
So, if we maybe have Brett, do you want to start off with the characters,
Sure.
and I will do the narration for this one, and we'll switch over on the next.
Great. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's do this. Okay. We are at the Grange Jetty on Second Beach. Wait on the jetty, near the second beach. Those were the only instructions that the firm sent to you. The rest is shrouded in mystery. Who they are and what they do. All that you know for sure is they are looking for a person of your specific talents. You have been handpicked to be here to meet with your handler, your liaison with the mysterious organization, and you're determined to solve at least one mystery today. On both sides of the beach, you see seaweed strewn across the sand like unkept tangles of mermaid hair. A variety of people are walking up and down the jetty, many of them staring at the screens of their phones. There is a laid back atmosphere here, a chilled out vibe of a coastal community. Seabirds drift lazily about the thermals, tracing invisible spirals in the air. There's a tap on your shoulder. A man stands behind you, wearing a trench coat. He is the sort of fellow who seems to wear the trench coat convincingly, as though he would wear it no matter the weather or time of day. Walk with
Walk
me.
with me.
Sorry, Brett. Apologies. Leave that to you.
Walk with me.
Your handler says in a voice that is deep and sonorous. He takes a few steps towards the coast. You follow at your handler's heels.
Why am I here?
But your handler seems more preoccupied with the wooden planks beneath your feet. His demeanor suddenly grows warm as he tells you.
Jarrow wood. Each one still shows the character of the tree it was stripped from. See the markings in the grain?
Your handler clearly feels some kinship with these nostalgic wooden planks. Many of the indentations have filled up with sand, smoothing the surface of the jetty like putty.
I don't even know your name.
You say.
And you're telling me about wood? I don't know your name either.
He says, then continues blank-faced.
To me, you are simply Recruit 458, and I've been sent to protect you. To protect me from what?
Your handler points out across the deep blue ocean and the rolling waves.
Do you see that?
Squinting, you make out the hulking shadow of a ship on the horizon. A green light flickers somewhere above the deck.
The firm is watching.
He says.
Everything that you say and do from this moment forward is being tracked and recorded. Protect me from what?
You insist.
From making bad decisions.
Your handler replies, and there's that hint of a smile again, creeping across his face, a flickering emotion like an old TV channel. Your handler spreads his arms wide to encompass the scope of the beach, stretching away in both directions.
But now you must decide if you're a warrior, battle-hardened, and eager to engage in the most explosive of the firm's missions, then you must check in at the Marines. It's Australia's only 3-story Victorian beachside dwelling. In fact, you can see it from here. Didn't you say there was a decision?
Your handler is smiling broadly now, and despite the fact that he's standing right there in front of you, there's a certain fuzziness about him. Trying to read his face is like trying to tell how a person was feeling on the day an old photograph was taken.
Perhaps you're inclined to ask more questions? To watch from afar? If that's the case, then seek out a memorial bench not far from here. I think you will find it the perfect place to sit and contemplate the strange situation you find yourself in. These choices seem kind of cryptic. What's the catch?
You ask.
Only that you must decide.
Your handler tells you slyly. So, which will it be? Do you go to the Marines, where they require a warrior, or the Memorial, where they require a thinker?
Oh, cool.
Brett.
I like the really clear juxtaposition of choices. Sometimes the actions are a little more ambiguous, or you're not quite sure what the choice might do, but the stark clarity that's saying warrior versus thinker. How do you want to approach problems in this story? That's very cool.
Mm-hmm. So I also wanted to point out here, because I don't think we could see this. I might have to bring this window up a little bit. But when I was scrolling around to show everyone the planks,
Mhm.
we got to see. the lovely
Amazing.
person who was taking the photograph. And so here's me now feeling like I'm stepping into the shoes of a slightly bald man in a white t-shirt as the as new recruit 458. He's now become my mascot for the walk.
That's great.
Thank you, kind stranger.
Well, if we're taking cues from this fellow, I mean, a shaved head is definitely kind of a Marines kind of move here.
That is true. That is true.
I like solving puzzles and that sort of thing. So the thinker is pretty appealing to me. I don't know. Where are you leaning here, Emily? Do you know this? Do you know most of this story?
Oh, I do. I do know
Back and
most of the
forth, like the back
story.
of your warrior and
Not
thinking
like the
head.
back of my warrior hand. So I can't remember if we split off where
Hmm.
we are going to end up, right? Because like I remember vaguely 8 different endings, but could I tell you what direction I was going in for them? No. So I um I mean like he is very cryptic. He is
Hmm.
wearing a trench coat in like it's currently Australian summer. Like it's not going to be Australian winter, right? So like we're assuming Australian summer here. So he's wearing a trench coat in Australian summer, which is like
Hmm.
highly dodgy, right?
Hmm.
Like I I do feel like this is probably a time where I would step back and be a little bit more suspicious and a little bit more of a thinker rather than like gun ho, let's recruit 458 this baby. Like so as much as I love this building, the Marines building, so you can actually see it from here. So this is the 3-story building, and maybe I'll like just take a brief detour to show you guys what it looks like because it is beautiful. This, it's the only Victorian 3-story building on a beach in Australia. It's gorgeous. So maybe I'll take sort of a little detour there, but I am leaning towards the thinker as well.
Okay, let's
Let's do
let's
it.
think our way through this.
All right, we're gonna go to the memorial bench, everyone. That means if we are going to be in the memorial bench, that guy down there. So we're down near Beach Street. But first, let's take a quick swing over to the Marines so that you guys can see this very, very beautiful building. So this here is the Marines.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's this so they're all like little so there's they call them workmen's apartments. So
Hmm.
so people they would have been like so I think it's called the Marines because it did used to house Marines or like sailors.
Hmm.
And so this kind of like brick front, any of you who came to the Mark Jackson episode and discovered like Port Adelaide, like this is a very kind of Adelaidean this kind of blue slate brick, and then these kind of like terraced. Um, they were like tiny apartments that they would essentially house like sailors or white collar workers or all those kind of things, like single people, single and ready to mingle, as it were, back in the early kind of era in Australia. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Saucy.
yes, yes, and so these are all kind of different. So you've got the palm trees, and then there are these kind of like very kind of spiky. I think these are Norfolk pines um, as well. So you can kind of see very sandy, lovely walking path along the beach, and then that's the jetty from afar as well. So yeah, I just wanted to show you that building because it is like a really lovely building in this area. So,
I admit now that I'm not totally aware of Australia's history when it was sort of colonized, and so how old this building might have been.
yeah, so Victorian so South Australia was colonized by white folk fairly early in the piece. Um, it was the only state to have to not be colonized necessarily by the convict boats, but by free men and women coming in.
Right.
And so, of course, this negates all of pre-indigenous history, like 60,000 years of
Of
pre-indigenous
course. Yeah. Yeah.
history.
Yeah.
So that's why, like Victoria, so those marine ones, so Victorian era is like 1890s, so not that old in the grand scheme of, like buildings in Europe and cave, paintings and artifacts in Australia. But yeah, so South Australians are a little bit snooty about the fact that they were one of the only states that was not colonised by convicts, but free men and women. And the ship that they came over, the Clipper of Adelaide, we actually saw that boat. It still exists. Its shell still exists, and we actually saw that boat in episode 3 for anyone who is interested, of the podcast that we did with Mark Jackson in Port Adelaide. That's where the Clipper now rests, and still exists. And that's actually the ship that they came on in the early 1800s, here in South Australia. So that's kind of the history in Adelaide. Quite similar, I suppose, to although Canada, I think, was a little bit earlier, but in terms of its colonial history. Um, but this area in particular was that. So um, our memorial bench is actually just here, where these lovely folk are. So we can glance out over the river here, over the the ocean here, with our Norfolk pines, and we'll just join our two mates here on the bench. Okay, Brett,
All
take
right.
it away.
As you reach the first of the memorial benches, you notice that your handler is already there, waiting for you. His hands are buried deep in the pockets of his coat, and he's staring out at the rolling blue ocean.
Her special place.
He says, motioning to the plaque on the bench.
And it is a special place, don't you think?
You look out at the wind blasted dunes, the archaic coastal plants that have grown here for centuries, seeding and resprouting, clinging to the shore with all their effort, every cell finely tuned to existing in the here and now,
The plants never question.
says your handler.
They simply grow. They're perfect in a way. They're built to purpose. Sometimes it's important to stop and think about these things. There is such a vastness of water out there. It gives perspective to be a part of something that grand, don't you think?
To be honest, you're not sure exactly how it makes you feel. Now it might be a good time to have a mint.
A great explorer, Charles Sturt, lived not far from here. He devoted much of his life to searching for a gigantic inland sea in central Australia, a sea he never found. Imagine seeking something for your entire life that you never end up finding. Would you regret such a search? Would you go back and do things differently the second time?
The handler swipes at the air, releasing a handful of sand in a swirling eddy, and an image appears before you. The holographic picture seems to flicker back and forth between contrasting extremes. You glimpse a lady in an old fashioned one piece swimsuit, sharing an ice cream with her beau. But then the scene rapidly disintegrates into that of a bleak future, a turbulent sky of hissing clouds that you're certain are brimming with acid rain,
You've witnessed but a glimpse of what was and what could be.
says your handler.
Only you are able to prevent such a future from unfolding. All of the tools of the firm are at your disposal, but it is up to you how you proceed, by looking either forwards or back.
If you wish to look for a solution to this dark future in the past, seek out Charles Sturt's mythical inland sea. Or if you prefer to look into the future to avert humanity's doom, go to St. Agnes Anglican Church.
Look, how beautiful is this image? Like, can we just take in Amanda's artwork in this one here. Like it's just gorgeous.
The old one-piece swimsuit and her beau having ice cream. Yeah.
hmm I love like because you can see the watercolor paper she worked on as well. Like I just
Hmm.
love that vibe, right?
Hmm.
Um, it it just I don't know. It lends like a when you think of like spy novels and men in trench coats, like it lends that feel to like a like the old school like serialized like stories in the papers.
Hmm.
That's kind of
Hmm.
like the vibe that
Yeah,
I
the old
get.
form comics too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So are we looking for a solution to this dark future in the past, or are we preferring to look forward to avert our doom?
Well, first, it's interesting to me that we are, uh, and I so because we're in the start of the story, we're very much working with the firm.
hmm
It seems like we're just sort of going along with the flow, going along with whatever this handler says. There isn't much conflict. When at the start of the story, I thought we'd be kind of at odds with them. I'm interested to see when that comes up or not. Um, I It's interesting to say look for a solution to the dark future in the past, um, as if there'd be some tool that is beyond what we have right now to um, change the dark future when
hmm
the dark future hasn't yet arrived here. So I
hmm
feel like couldn't we just do that in the present? So what is the advantage here? And or if we're looking at going to the future, then I mean absolutely we will see what actually has gone wrong.
hmm
What future are we beholding?
hmm
So this this one almost seems like it's you must choose the future because this is how we see what actually has gone wrong so we can figure out what we need to do. um, I always appreciate looking into history and into the past in terms of like correcting our past mistakes and learning. Like that's a huge part of like humanity progressing forward. But this one just seems like a you must pick the future to see what actually happens.
You don't think necessarily that by picking the future and knowing what happens, that you like almost cement it in a way? Like,
The self-fulfilling prophecy.
correct, yeah. Like, like the idea that if you know how you're going to die, you trying to avert it is what ends up causing that death, right?
Well, I mean, if the loop's already closed and fate is set, then no choice matters. But I'm under the presumption that my choices matter, and I feel like abandoning that perspective is a little folly when you're choosing your own adventure.
Okay, fair. All right. Well, let's look into the future then. We're gonna make, although like it's interesting that you're looking into the future at a church, which feels
Hmm.
like looking into the past.
Yeah.
But but that's that's a philosophical note for another time. Okay, so that means that we are making our way to St. Agnes Church, which is going to be inland just a little bit. Sorry, guys, we're taking you away from the beautiful beach. My apologies.
I think there's
Um,
another cool thing about that is that the format of these stories require that the author has picked places that you could walk to, right? And
mhm,
so sometimes they'll have to choose things that wouldn't be exactly what you would write in a story.
mhm.
Um, and I know people often think that restrictions like that are more of a clamp on storytelling, but actually restrictions are often where we get the most creativity, where we
Oh,
don't have the
100%.
options, and so we need to be extra creative to make the limited choices we have sort of like really. I was going to say sing, but
Mm.
speak as a story. So I think that's pretty cool.
There's actually a lyric that I think about a lot. That's from them Crooked Vultures, which is a super group made up of a someone from like the Queens of the Stone Age and someone from the Foo Fighters, and like they all kind of came together and formed a super group and they made one album. And there's a song in there, and there's a lyric that says, "You can't always do what's right, but you can do what's left." and
Mm.
um, And I really like
Nice.
that as a line in a lyric to think about, because sometimes like there is no right, and sometimes the only choices you can make are the ones that are left to you.
And just the cute play on the words of the directions of right and left, and
Mm.
and what our society associates with like good and bad, and that's there's a lot packed into that. That's a really cool lyric.
Yeah, yeah. I highly recommend them Crooked Vultures. Check it out. All right. So we've gone to St. Agnes's Church. We're looking into the future. Are you ready, Brett? You get to take this one away.
As the sign here reads, this is the second bell tower to be constructed at this point.
There's something matter of fact about the way your handler speaks that reminds you of a university professor.
The first became unsettled because of shifting earth beneath our feet. Yet if I told you that what was responsible for that, you'd think I was crazy.
With this cryptic statement, your handler strides off, leading you down the side of the church to the memorial garden where rose bushes grow against the fence.
A wise man once said that if you move even just your hand, everything else in the universe also moves.
You're not quite sure what to make of that, except that it sounds like something you once read inside a fortune cookie. The thought makes you hungry enough that you should probably eat a mint before the handler continues speaking.
That is why you've been recruited to be the moving hand of the firm. You're capable of doing what the rest of us cannot. But you can move. You're doing it right now.
You say. Your handler approaches one of the rose bushes at the back of the garden.
To cause material change, you must first be material.
Your handler reaches out for a rose bush and closes his hand over the thorns. You wince, but a moment later, your handler shows you the palm of his hand, the skin unblemished.
How did you do that?
You stammer.
Are you a ghost?
Your handler laughs, a booming, resonant sound that fills the garden and bounces back at you off the church.
No, I'm not a ghost. I'm a hologram sent from the future. But how does that work? It's complicated.
He says, dismissing your question as easily as one might change their Facebook status.
Every action you take, every move you make, has an impact on the world. Simply by being here now, you're altering the future. You're helping to prepare this place, Grange, for what comes next. What does come next?
You ask.
And if you're from the future, prove it. With next week's lottery numbers, for example.
You both laugh awkwardly for a moment before fading to silence.
Seriously, I could use those numbers.
The handler clears his throat before hurrying on.
What comes next, I'm afraid, is unavoidable. But the impact of those events may yet be mitigated. It all depends on the choices you make. Is it a prerequisite of time travel that you only speak in riddles?
You ask,
An unfortunate side effect.
says your handler.
So then, one final riddle on the paradox of humanity. Why do we always yearn to see the future and change the past, yet so rarely yearn to see the past and change the future? You have a choice, recruit. I can show you what comes next, but if I do, you will not be able to return to this timeline. Alternatively, you can change the future in the here and now by helping us to obtain a weapon of cosmic proportions. This weapon may be used to counteract future situations that will inevitably arise. If you choose this option, I will not be able to guarantee your safety, but I can assure you that you will be ensuring the safety of many others in Grange, nay, the entire planet.
The choice is yours. Will you accept the firm's mission to enable a powerful secret weapon that's hidden nearby in the Kilcardy Reserve? You don't need to see the future to want to change it. Or head back to the beach to the sculpture of the sea eagle in order to see what comes next. The idea of unleashing some mysterious superweapon without knowing the facts doesn't sit right with you. You're determined to make your own plans to help protect the future. Brett, even more ambiguous choices now.
Well, I mean, I feel like this one is also a little clear cut. Um, at least for me, with as sort of metagaming here, the
Mm-hmm.
idea that the firm is something's a little off about them, and the title of the whole thing is "Who is the firm?" or "Who are the firm?" Like we're already we're already set up to be questioning these yahoos right from the get go, and this guy's being really cagey. Don't know quite what's going on. So the idea of helping this man or this organization find a super weapon that they can use for whatever means necessary, when the only thing they've said is what comes next, um, and they even say that's unavoidable anyways. So it's not even clear how they would fight this thing, if it's even a thing or a being. So I would certainly lead towards uh, seeing what comes next before I make any decisions here.
Mm. Um, it's interesting because, like, one of the things that he said in here is that uh, by simply being here now, you're altering the future, right?
Hmm.
And I was like, yes, I was right. You know that just by coming to the future, we are altering it, but he doesn't say for the better or the worse,
Hmm.
right? Which I was only just realizing now when I came back and had a look at it. I assumed for like the worst, but like it doesn't actually say. Um,
Hmm.
so like um, yeah, so saying the weapon may be used to counteract the future, um, but you can't guarantee your safety. Whereas if you see what comes next, you won't be able to return back to this point of choosing, I suppose.
Hmm. That's super fair. But yeah, I think for me it's
Clear
pretty
cut.
clear that I
We're going
I
to the
need more
future.
information.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to the ocean, to the sea eagle sculpture, which is a little bit further down the road here. And should be right over here somewhere. Oh, there it is. So this here is the sea eagle sculpture. So it's a bunch of standing pieces um, that have an eagle and an eagle's nest on the top there.
Hmm. Cool.
Yeah. So again, beautiful esplanade area, very fancy homes, as you can see there. But like beachfront property for days. Okay. So we're going to sea eagle sculpture. Brett, this is you. This is our ending. Take it away.
Okay. You make your way back to the beach, looking for the sea eagle sculpture that's perched atop a hewn wooden beam. Once again, your handler is waiting for you, hands buried in the pockets of his trench coat. Above you both, the sea eagle watches from on high. The future approaches. Prepare yourself for what comes next. Your handler says without turning. I totally took your part, hey?
That's fine. Keep
Okay, you
going.
can. All right. He motions for you to follow him past the eagle and onto the beach, then instructs you to draw a circle on the sand and sit down within it. Perhaps have a mint while you're waiting. I keep getting these mint drops. I wonder if the author was obsessed with mints or if something else is going
Well,
on
that's
there.
what I was wondering. I was like, did I miss something in the description that talks about mints? And I don't think so. But
What happens next is at first subtle, like the sun slowly dipping beneath the horizon. If you blink, you might have missed it. First, a boat appears on the water. Those on board seem to be wearing gas masks, if not astronaut suits. The sky has changed color and the air smells different. Your handler, too, has vanished, not even bothering to say goodbye. As you look around for him, you notice that all the buildings along the beach are gone and only ruins remain. The sea eagle impossibly remains. It cuts a striking silhouette against the crimson sky behind you. The boat draws up to the sand and the figures get off. One of them is holding what appears to be a Geiger counter. You can hear the telltale clicking sound that it makes as he swings it in wide arcs across the beach. The figures stomp towards you, across sand that's turned to gravel, away from a sea that's turned to acid. As they come closer, you can hear the sound of their shallow breathing, amplified by the masks. This is what your handler was referring to, you realize. This is what comes next. And now that you've seen it, you're beginning to wish you hadn't. Dozens of metal barrels bob out on the ocean, trapped between tangled tentacles of plastic waste so thoughtlessly discarded. The ocean itself glistens with a kaleidoscopic sheen of pollution. Hold on, you say to the approaching figures. I've changed my mind. Let me go back. I can stop this from happening. I can make a difference,
It's too late for that.
says a voice from behind one of the gas masks. You squint into the visor and recognize the face of your handler staring out at you. He seems older somehow, but it's hard to tell behind the curved glass.
You wanted to see the future, and now there's no going back.
But you went back?
One day you might return as a hologram in order to succeed where I have failed.
Your handler says to you. His eyes look weary behind the mask, and up this close, you could tell his skin is definitely more lined with age than it was when you first met him on the jetty.
One way or another, I'm sure you'll agree. This is not an acceptable future.
And gazing out at the rolling ocean and the neon lit wrongness of the clouds of pollution in the sky, you know that he's right. Somebody has to do something.
Bum,
The
bum,
end.
bum.
Field report. Recruit 458 has displayed the following character traits: contemplative, impatient, inquisitive. Recruit 458 has witnessed the post event world and, as such, is no longer able to participate in pre event operations. Further determinations about the recruit's possibility for holographic reconnaissance missions will follow. Rating 3 out of 5.
Ooh, ouch. We're only average there, Brett.
So we were too careful, is
We were
basically what
too
we're being told.
careful. We wanted to see the future so much that we were willing to give up our ability to affect it in the here and now.
Yeah, I feel like we got the "Don't Rock the Boat" ending, so I'm a little sad. I suppose that makes sense. Is that I made the obvious or careful choices each time, instead of running gung ho into danger and seeing what to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
Mm-hmm. Do you want to know what would have happened if we had gone the other direction?
Oh, it's the Kilkenny Reserve.
Yeah.
Sure, why not, eh?
All right, let's do this. So mm, lots of beautiful birds there. Kilkenny Reserve, if I remember, is over this way. So let's maybe drop ourselves here. So this is the beautiful reserve here. There's some lovely, so it's a lovely park with Banksia trees. So Banksia are a type of tree that has a red bottle brush flower. Um, and some lovely like park and playground equipment. You can't tell from this far out, but there's also a little river or a little creek running in behind there as well. Um, and just lots of very lovely, Banksia trees, um, some nice, uh, eucalyptus, and just a lovely little park that kind of just wanders its way along the creek here at the back. So let us see what would have happened if we had chosen to unleash our super weapon.
Mm-hmm.
As you approach the playground, you spot your handler standing down by the water. There's a little duck on his shoulder and several others paddling about nearby. This is a peaceful park, nestled away between suburban streets like an oasis. There's a sense of sanctuary here.
Did you know that you're not supposed to feed the ducks with bread?
Says your handler as you arrive.
Apparently, it's bad for their digestion. Well, what are you supposed to feed them then?
You ask.
In fact, there's no need to feed them at all. They are perfectly capable animals, in possession of all the necessary faculties to feed themselves. They're at one with the world around them, asking nothing of nature that it does not provide. But today, we're going to make a small exception.
Your handler motions towards the stone drinking fountain set beside the creek. Inside is a crumpled paper bag that contains what appears to be seeds.
Feed them some of those. I don't understand.
You say, not for the first time today.
Didn't you say there was some sort of weapon here somewhere? Feed the ducks.
Your handler says.
You'll see.
First, you treat yourself to a mint. Why should the ducks get a treat and not you? Then you
Damn
reach
mints.
then you reach into the bag and scatter a few seeds for the ducks. Several of them waddle closer. At first, nothing exceptional seems to be happening, but you become gradually aware of a looming darkness and a strange sound like the flapping of wings.
Look,
Says your handler.
there.
You look up and realize that hundreds, if not thousands, of ducks are descending on Kilcaldy Reserve, desperate for a sample of these seemingly irresistible seeds. The sound of wings is overwhelming. Several ducks snap at the bag at your hands until it breaks apart and falls to the grass at your feet. The ducks swarm on the seed, quacking and clanking their bills as they chow down on the firm's special recipe.
This is the weapon?
You ask as the wing of one especially rowdy duck buffets you in the face. Your handler stands back and watches. That same duck still remains perched quite comfortably on his shoulder.
For too long, humans have run riot over this planet.
Your handler says. The duck on his shoulder bobs his head as he speaks, as though agreeing.
It is time the natural order was rebalanced, and our build compatriots take back the Earth. Is this me, or is this the handler?
This is the handler.
The duckpocalypse is upon us.
And unless you've seen it for yourself, you would have thought that he'd gone utterly quackers. Field report. Recruit 458 has displayed the following character traits: contemplative, impatient, experimental. Recruit 458 has successfully tested the magic seeds, which will soon be distributed en masse to all local reserves. Mankind has been saved from itself, and the planet has been preserved for all other living species, particularly the ducks. The recruit, however, has not been seen since. They will nevertheless live on fable and song as the duck bringer, harbinger of ducks. Rating
Harbinger of ducks.
harbinger of ducks. Rating 4 out of 5.
Ooh, much improved.
So honestly, this branch has not gone well for us.
Yeah.
Both poor endings.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like we have been told off for being contemplative yet impatient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we have set off the duck apocalypse and then also given up our chance to save an apocalypse.
So did it's a different apocalypse though? Like it sounds like nature did not get destroyed, but that
No, exactly.
I'm guessing that humanity kind of fades into the background.
Exactly. That's exactly what happens there. So in this one, humanity survives, but nature does not. In this one, nature survives, but humanity does not.
Interesting. I'm One thing is I like what he's done here, and I'm not sure if this was the reason the writer did it. This mint dropping thing makes me curious about whether it's relevant in any of the other chapters, which is kind of a cool thing to do in a choose your own adventure, where you have these little hints of like what the other paths might have. I mean, they might all just mention that you have mints at random times, but like
No,
it
you
has
are
some
correct. It is a helpful thing for you in a particular branch of the story. Yeah.
hmm
Um, so, and what's interesting is not all of the stories like end the same way either. Like, so down this way is kind of like an apocalypse line, but like
hmm
down another direction, we end up doing away with the firm in a
Okay.
time portal related
Oh wow.
manner. In another one, we end up finding buried treasure.
Cool.
Um, in another one, more agents are joining us. They seem friendly agents, though, so this appears to be a good ending for
Hmm.
all. And in yet another one, we end up in a fight.
Oh, cool.
In yet another one, a train station.
The
Um,
pow bam straight out of the old Batman's.
oh yeah, 100%. And another one, Firm Fitness Foundation.
Wow. Feel firm. Great. Yeah, I really like the writing style, which combines like I guess life philosophy with dark and brooding,
Mm,
with like just that like subtle line of whimsy that goes through it all. That it's kind of poking fun of itself. So that's really cool.
yeah, yeah. Michael did a superb job of this one, and you know, Grange is just this lovely. It's a very chillax seaside town, just with like yeah, some lovely areas to just go wandering, and then at the end, you know, you can get yourself an ice cream if it's summer, or hang out on the jetty. You know, do a bit of fishing if you want to. So I think what I like about this is that it takes a very suburban area and manages to have these really interesting adventures um, in areas like you know a church and like you know just like a general seaside and like at a park and it manages to kind of turn them into you know the duck apocalypse and you know so I really enjoy um, that aspect of it as well. So if anyone else is like Brett, curious about the mint reference and wanting to know where they might have ended up if they had chosen differently, maybe become warriors from the beginning, who knows? Then you can always download Story City at about.storycity.app, turn on spoiler mode, and then either tap your way through to figure out how your story would have ended, or if you live in Adelaide, head on out to Grange for a delightful afternoon by the seaside while you determine whether or not you trust the firm. So,
Hmm.
thank you so much, Michael, for the wonderful story and letting us share that with the world. Thank you so much, Amanda, for your delightful illustrations. Taking, as Brett said, some of the old school comic book era, but also, you know, not shying away from the uh, the fun of people in very tight leggings feeling firm.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that. If you are watching Adventure Hour for the first time or listening to us on the podcast, we do this every week, either on a Thursday or Friday afternoon. Next week, it is again going to be on a Thursday evening here in North America, Friday in the Australasian region. We're going to be talking to Christopher Healy and Tamara Pratt, and we are going to be seeing if we are going to survive a zombie apocalypse
Nice.
in Brisbane. This one is probably one of the darker stories on the app. It is definitely an M15 plus rating, whereas this one here, The Firm, was a more of a PG kind of family friendly story, whereas the one that we're going to be doing next week is definitely M15 plus. There's like killing zombies with stiletto heels and all sorts of things, right? So that'll be next week with Christopher Healy and Tamara Pratt, who are the musicians and the author of that piece. And every Monday, of course, we run the Creator Labs, where we invite you to come and join us if you have a story, whether it's a film, interactive game, a book, and you're wanting to bounce ideas off someone, you're wanting to check whether something makes sense, you're wanting to get out of writer's block, please come brainstorm with us. We do it every Monday at 4 p.m. MST time or around 10 a.m. in the Australasian region. So on a Tuesday morning. So please come join us. Brett, as always, thank you so much for being my co host this week. And we will see everybody next week.